that is about the economy, how it works. I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I have another YouTube channel. It's called Vitality and Wellness, where I talk about health and nutrition and working out because I'm a small business owner. I own health clubs, multiple health clubs, and I know what affects them. I understand what affects the economy, partially because of my degrees. My degrees are in business. Certifications are all in business. So, but I know how it works mostly, and most business owners and business people know how it works from their experience. So I'm going to tell you some very simple things on what will stimulate the economy, get us out of debt, and reduce inflation. It's not rocket science. It's how it works. So I'll let you start first, Victor, before I get into that.
Okay. I'm trying to think of an example. My Economy 101 teacher used to talk about, this is before most people were born here, but would talk about supply and demand. And he'd talk about pancakes. And there comes a certain time where you're full of pancakes and you wouldn't really want to pay more money for, another set of pancakes to come your way. And if you were really greedy and tried to eat all the pancakes that you could, at some point you would begin to say, I don't want any pancakes. Get them out, get them away from me, because that demand has gone away. And it's as if when we go into politics in our political world, there's a whole section of politicians that totally forget about supply and demand. And I was just listening to a certain politician talking about increasing the tax base by lowering the taxes. And this has been a truth that politicians have tried since, I believe, Eisenhower's time, and probably before that. But that's a stranger to most people, but I lived through that. And it's so important to understand that when you put pressure on the rich move away, or they create loopholes in such a way where they're not affected by it, and the tax base does not get supplied. And it's so important because right now everybody has gone green, and I consider myself one of the most green persons, but that green has been a kind of an excuse for clobbering the rich and clobbering affluence. And it's almost as if they don't want you to drive cars anymore. They don't want you to fly anymore. And what happens is the basis for the economy gets constricted more and more and more. And it just doesn't work very well. Maybe you can explain it a little more, Steve, but I see it so clearly that there's just no doubt in my mind.
Yeah, now there's multiple things. Let me talk about inflation first. There's multiple things that cause inflation. But let's talk about what you just brought up, supply and demand. And I'll give you an example. There's two ways to lower the price of things. The first way is and neither one of these are more important than the other. It's just two things that affect the price of something. The first way you can do it is by increasing the supply. Make more of it. The second way is to decrease the demand, or for some reason the demand decreases. Like you said, I ate too many pancakes. I don't want any more. There's no more demand for pancakes because I'm full. So if the demand for something goes down, the price is going to go down. Nobody wants it. I got to lower the price if I'm selling it. If nobody wants it, I have to lower the price. Now, if the supply goes up, if there's more of it to sell, there's more competition, the price goes down. Now, let me say, I'm an independent. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I'm a small business owner. And so my politics line up with economics. It's just simple. We don't put up signs, political signs in our gyms. I don't put them up in my yard. I stay out of it. But I do know how the economy works. So let's say we increase the supply of oil. How do we do that? Fracking, drilling. Now, some people say, well, you're destroying the earth. Well, that's a whole different topic. I'm talking about supply and demand and the economy. So the supply goes up. When the supply of oil goes up, when it doubles, the price gets cut in half. Now, when the price of oil gets cut in half, gas prices get cut in half. It's not exact, but this is how it works. This is how one thing affects the other. Now, instead of $4 a gallon for gas or more, it's $2. Okay, that extra $2 is going to be used for what? So when gas prices go down, energy prices go down. Energy affects every business. Every business uses energy. And when you lower the price of energy, then you make businesses more profitable. What happens when they're more profitable? They hire more people. What happens when they hire more people? There's more people paying taxes. There's more people going to restaurants. When the price of gas gets cut in half, families go out to eat one more time a month. So now we need more servers. We need more people working in the restaurants. We need more restaurants. And as that snowball gets going, it affects everything. Price of shipping is less. That lowers the price of things that you buy at the store because the truckers bring it in and they're saving money. That all gets passed on. And so that snowball starts to roll. And that affects the economy and it brings prices down.
Now, I got to add this. What happened with this present administration is they constricted the flow of oil all around our nation. And that's one of the major reasons everything is going up. It is causing difficulty within our nation. And I'm also invested in restaurants. He mentioned restaurants. I worked for a company that was very large, and now they're closing stores. They were so affluent, they were so popular, but now they're closing stores because it snowballs together where that monster gets bigger and bigger. And part of that monster's name is inflation. We have caused it by constricting all the energy prices and our energy production, rather. There's no production here in the United States, so we have to go someplace else. And I got to mention this too. You brought that on in my mind, Steve, where, okay, we send all the energy production to other nations. Those other nations will not worry about pollution. And so the world in general, and it floats over to whether you're in Southern California or Massachusetts, it floats over us, and it's part of the world problem. Instead, we could be producing energy cleanly here, and it would cost less. It would drive the price of everything down. Now, people say, well, I'll bike there. I'll bike to work. That doesn't save but a few pennies, and it fools you because you just bought a new bike, and that was energy. Everything that you have around you, you want air conditioning, that's energy. And because we constrict it so much, everything becomes expensive. And so you're sitting in your air conditioned room and you don't want to open the door to go outside because you'll lose your air conditioning. It's so expensive. You don't want to run your business. You don't want to expand because everything is more expensive. And that just creates a monster that's huge. And that's what we're feeling the pressure from in part. It's not because of Ukraine. The prices of gas went up as soon as the administration decided to constrict. Everything went up. And then Ukraine happened much later. Don't get fooled. The facts are the facts. Don't listen to the politicians telling you that they know better. They have constricted things, and we're paying the cost.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Up is up and down is down. And sometimes it takes a while for these policies to impact the economy, but they will one way or the other. If you affect the supply and demand, it will affect the economy. And the Federal Reserve Bank does it. How do they do it? Well, if they're fearing inflation, they raise interest rates. What does that do? That takes money out of the economy. When you take it out of the economy, it helps to stop inflation. And it let fewer people buy homes. And look, I'm not saying sometimes this is good, sometimes this is bad. You have to do it. You know, if inflation is booming out of control, the Federal Reserve is going to raise interest rates. It's just because they know the effects of it. And people don't like it, but that's what they do to affect the supply and demand.
I've got to say, as a semi-retired person, I'm watching my investments, and if my investments aren't somewhere around 10%, I'm losing money. Oh, that sounds like a huge number. It is a pretty huge number. But to keep up with real inflation, I mean, you have to really be amazing. And that doesn't happen. Everybody's falling behind. And now we kind of hear this kind of sucking sound all around us. It just becomes almost unbearable. And I know for some it is. Where I read a statistic, and I don't know about this personally, but they say a third of the American population misses a meal because it's just too expensive. Wow, that is huge. We've had so much constriction, and probably the lower end, especially those that don't spend much time on YouTube, they don't even know what's going on. It's just dire times. And we have to recognize that this is unfair to mankind. This is unfair to the nation.
All this stuff ties together. We don't have time really. We don't want to spend more time to talk about inflation, but inflation is a tax.
Yes.
You know, I always look at the root of what something is. Inflation is a tax, meaning someone's paying $5 for a loaf of bread. Now it's $10. Where'd that difference come from? Well, when you print money and you send it all over the place, you're deflating the dollar. It's a tax. Why? Because the government created this money. Where do they get their money? From taxpayers. But the money that we paid in taxes was used to make bread go from $5 to $10. It's a tax. It's just like when I talk to kids sometimes, you know, in schools, and I'll get a chair out and I'll say, "What is this?" They'll say, "It's a chair." I say, "No, it's not. It's not a chair. This is labor. I'm looking beyond what's on the surface. $5 to $10 for a loaf of bread. It's not a chair. What is it? It's labor. Somebody had to put this chair together. It took labor. It took someone working to make that chair and someone paying for it to make that chair. I can sell that chair for $20. So it's not a chair to me. Anyway, we're talking about a whole nother topic that we can talk about on another video, maybe.
All right. This is good. This is important.
It is.
People have a basic understanding.
They do. This is simple math, but you're right. People don't understand this, and politicians don't understand it either. So how are they going to take the time to explain how the economy works when they have no idea? You know, probably what? 97% is a wild guess of politicians have absolutely no idea how to run a small business or how the economy works. They just don't. But people that run businesses, CEOs, they understand how businesses work. They understand what benefits businesses and what doesn't. So you could get me going and we could go for another 2 hours, but I won't. So, Pastor Bro, thanks for being with us as always.
Thanks for listening, everybody.